Hello there, Eric back again, your Learning Futurist. Well, have you ever been teaching in a classroom and perhaps you wanted to use virtual reality? And the cheapest, probably the highest quality headset out there is the Oculus by Facebook, now Meta. And I wrote a blog post about this in 2019 saying how this is a horrible experience for teachers, especially when you had to ask your students to log into their Facebook accounts or create fake Facebook accounts so you can use them in the classroom. Well, this is changing because Meta is now opening this up and not requiring a Facebook login, instead requiring a Meta login. And this is a huge signal to me that they are looking like they're trying to become the next Apple. I'm looking at you, Quest Pro. So, all about the new Meta login requirements for your Oculus Quests and everything related to that, especially related to how you might use it in the classroom, coming up in this video. All right, so why do I think Meta wants to be Apple? Well, they don't want to be Apple, the company, but they do want to be in a position like Apple is. Specifically, I'm talking about how the profit margins and the value of Facebook went down dramatically just when Apple increased their privacy advocacy and rights for their users. So they had all users of iPhones and iPads had to opt into Facebook's data collection operations that were in effect up until that point, and their ability to target ads and their make revenue went down dramatically. So that was something Facebook already knew, but they didn't want to be in a position where they were held hostage, in a sense, by the platforms. And so this is Facebook, now Meta, moving away from Facebook, moving into Meta, becoming a device platform, owning the device, therefore having direct access to the people that use the platform. And this kind of migration from Facebook login to Meta login is moving in this direction. So first, what does this mean as far as the changes coming around this? So before, much to the dismay of educators like myself, trying to use these in classrooms, or even trying to use these because we know how much data can be collected about you when you use virtual reality, is you had to connect your Facebook account to the device, and your Facebook account, all the friends that you have on Facebook, were then imported or connected to when you were using virtual reality. This was also connected to an Oculus account, of course. Oculus was acquired by Facebook before becoming Meta, and so those accounts were merged sometime a few years ago. So now moving forward, you can opt into this, you can start to opt into this in August of 2022. You can unlink your Facebook account from your device and instead make a Meta account. A Meta account, think an Apple account, an Apple ID. You need that to log into your device. It shows the device that you are that person. The same thing with a Google account when you log into an Android device or use an Android device connected to a Google account. It allows you to have your settings, move your purchases from one to the other. And you can then optionally connect your Meta account with your Facebook account and your Instagram and other accounts that Meta owns as well. So this is a big plus, perhaps, for educators because you won't require the login of personal accounts and connecting personal social media with what's happening in your classrooms. And other annoying things that Facebook has with their things as well. So there's a couple of caveats with here as well. So Horizon Worlds is the VR social application that Facebook Meta is rolling out, and they are really pushing this as a kind of a Microsoft Teams type thing where they're going to allow people to come in and chat and be together and kind of springboard off a lot of other experiences and purchases and ads and everything from this particular environment. So you can connect, and automatically your Meta accounts, when you connect them, they will be connected to a Horizons World account, and a Horizons World account will be automatically created for every Meta account that you create. And so you will have to give up some information, just like you do with your Apple ID, your name, your email address, phone number, date of birth, and a credit card for payments to purchase and maintain subscriptions inside of your device. And you can port that out. Big difference here is that now you can have multiple accounts on the same device, just like you can with a tablet, perhaps, where you log in. Now you have access to your account on that device, rather than before when you're kind of locked in. And then they tried to roll that back a little bit, allowing a couple of optional different Facebook logins to that. There's a couple of concerns in this. I hope to get into that in later on in this video as well. So you have automatically, you're created a social profile on Horizon Worlds. And Horizon Worlds, if you don't know it, it's kind of like this. It's a VR social platform. You can walk around, you're eerie, you don't have legs, and you can basically hang out in virtual worlds, create virtual worlds, and they're setting up marketplaces and things like that all in here. So you'll have an avatar that you will create and connect to a Meta account. So if you log in, you'll be asked to connect a social profile for Horizons to that account. But you can optionally make it private, so it's not connected to any other accounts. People cannot see what you're doing on your account, can't see if you're online or not, much the way a Instagram private account works. It's unclear to me at this point if you can actually see that account name or find that account name. Might be connected to that email address. If you search for that email address, you'll be able to see that person has an account or that email has an account, like you can in Instagram. But you won't be able to see any of their activity, see if they're online or not, which is a huge plus for privacy advocates, right? You can set it to private. Even though you have to create a social profile, you can, move that to the private zone. And so therefore, when you're using this particular Meta account on your device, you don't have to connect it to anything social or SNS required. There's another question, of course, if the data collected from using a Meta account is therefore can be construed and end up on other places on the web, including Facebook in targeted ads, if they know the email addresses are similar or those devices are connected in some way. Right? So the big plus, especially for educators with this new update, is the ability to have multiple accounts on one headset, one device. So you can have multiple accounts. Maybe you can have multiple different varieties of accounts that you roll out different software to, or you can share a device with people in your family without having to worry about interacting with that person's social accounts or friends or posts or anything like that, or showing your activity. Because in the first round or in the interim, Facebook was pushing a one public identity option for Facebook. If you were on Facebook, it was you had to be your real person. And actually, they're still having a hard time enforcing all these things, especially the age restriction that is becoming to be a big problem inside of these worlds in VR. Right? So there's a couple of caveats and concerns that I have with this that I wanted to share in making this video. The big one is it's the same job with a new boss, right? The same deal. If the culture of Meta is still to gather data and to exploit that data for profit, which let's be sure almost all of these platforms are, they just have to cut off that line at some point, make decisions whether it would, infuriate their customer base or help their shareholders. So not logging into Facebook is a plus, where you, as a personally, you're not irritated with having that account and your friends and your posts and your activity connected, visibly connected to your Facebook account. And for teachers, this is a win because now you don't have to have that awkward thing where you either make a fake Facebook account or there were some people actually physically jailbreaking their devices so they wouldn't have a Facebook account connected to them. You can actually create institutional meta accounts, much the way that they do with iPads and Chromebooks, and start to we're going to see probably institutional level management software for this type of endeavor. So that makes it much more clear about that. But the data that's collected on these meta accounts, can they be gathered and used and exploited? And just like now, they even mentioned in their press briefing that data from meta accounts could show up on quote unquote other services, meaning if, just like when you use Instagram, you might see an ad on Facebook. If you use your meta account and that account is known to be connected to a Facebook or WhatsApp or whatever account, you could see your behavior, the signals that are generated from your use inside of VR end up coming to you in other platforms and on the web. This is very, very possible. And likely, I think, depending on what the situation is, because Facebook has tried to consolidate their data from all the platforms, Instagram and Facebook in particular, with their efforts in generating targeted ad revenue. So what do you think? Is Facebook going to be the next Apple? Probably not, but they seem to be wanting to be closer to it, right? They want to direct access to their customer base. They don't want to be held back or have a wall between the two. So this move to the Meta account is going in that direction. What they do with it, how it's going to be rolled out, and the overall company cultural aspects of data collection and how that's going to be brought to bear on this developing situation is still left to be seen. All right, guys. Love to hear your thoughts. We'll see you in the next one. Bye-bye.